Hey, welcome to Thought Garden on the Air, where we explore the strategies and stories behind today's most impactful personal brands. I'm your host, Alexis Quintal, CEO of Rosarium. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by John Lee Dumas, host of Entrepreneurs on Fire. This is a podcast that has inspired countless entrepreneurs, including me. So, welcome, John. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome hanging out in real life not too long ago at PodFest and getting to hear your story about like a specific episode that really inspired you, because that's what I keep trying to
Mhm.
tell to content creators is like, you never know what content's going to click with what person. And like right now, there's somebody that's listening to a 2014 episode of Entrepreneurs on Fire about some topic,
Yeah.
and it's resonating with them right now. And it's something that I created 11 years ago, 12 years ago, 13 years ago. Some of my episodes went live, and yours was, a couple of years ago. It clicked and it made sense and it happened. And now
Yeah.
you're, doing what you're doing here and having that success. So I love hearing those stories. So number one,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that with me. And number two, congratulations on your success.
Thank you so much. I know I actually just celebrated 5 years on February 1st, so I can't even believe it, but
That's a big number, by the way, because 96% of businesses fail by 5 years. And then
I know.
it's like another 90+% of those businesses fail before the 10th year. So you have another
Yeah.
celebration coming up in 5 years.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'll have you back on then, and we'll
Yeah,
we'll
let's
talk
go.
about what's changed. But I wanna go all the way back with you. I mean, what inspired you to start Entrepreneurs on Fire, and did you have any doubts about launching a daily podcast? I know at the time that was not common at all.
I had all the doubts. Listen, I'm a human. Humans are filled with doubts. We're always going to have doubts, anxiety, stress, fear. It's just what's going to happen. It's those people that, number one, surround themselves with the right people, with a mastermind, with a support group that get through that, and and are just committed to that of saying, I'm going to surround myself with optimistic people, with people who are going to hold me
Mm,
accountable, who I know, like, and trust. And that's what I did way back in 2012 when I was going to launch a podcast. Because Alexis, I had no skills or knowledge about podcasting, about speaking into a microphone, about interviewing people. I had none
yeah.
of those skills. I had to acquire them all one way, by doing the work, by putting in the reps. And so
Yeah.
I joined that mastermind that I talked about earlier when I said surround yourself with the right people. Like, I joined a mastermind of the right people. They were also aspiring podcasters. I hired a mentor, Jamie Masters. She was and still is a fantastic podcast host. And so she was my guide. She was my mentor. And I got to work. Like, I got to work, and
Yeah.
I had a lot of doubt and fear around the daily thing because that was going to be a lot of work. But I knew that I had to, number one, put in the work every day to get
Mhm.
a little bit better, because I wasn't going to get better at podcasting doing it once a week. I had to do it every day. And number
Yeah.
two, I wanted to talk to as many cool people as possible. And doing a daily show, I'm speaking to 365 people a year. That's pretty fun.
I know. That's crazy. I think that's fun too because my favorite part of my workday. I mean, I'm on Zoom meetings. I'm also in person, going to events, networking. I mean, my favorite part of everything I do is the conversations that I get to have and the people I get to meet and what you learn from those conversations, right?
Big
So if you're
time.
just sitting at your computer all day answering emails or just really not making those connections, you might be missing out on something. So
So
sometimes
true.
it's worth that extra work and effort.
Yeah, in
And
fact, one thing that I always
this
share
is
with people is when you're at the beginning part of your journey, you need to say yes to everything possible. Not to
yeah.
everything, but to everything possible, because you don't know what it's going to lead to. You don't know what doors it's going to open. Once you kind of get into your groove a couple years in, 4 or 5, you're getting to that point right now, and then even beyond, then you've got to start being more selective, because you've got to say, okay, my time is super valuable. I'm running a successful business. Now, what do I say, no to, which is almost everything? What do I say yes to, which is almost nothing? Because when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to all the other things that you could potentially be doing or could happen to you, or opportunities that could arise at that time. So you're
Mhm.
going to be very selective, but it's a journey. A lot of people say, oh, like when I first launched my business, I'm going to say no to everything because I need to be focused. And I'm like, well, you need to work
Oh, no. The
hard, and you
opposite.
and you need to say yes to, like, to so many things that you can, because you don't know what conversation, what meeting, what event. I mean, look at us. I mean, now we
Mhm.
have, a friendship that we're building because of meeting at a conference that you decided to go to in real
Right,
life. Like, and that's
right.
that's cool. Like, that's fun. And I have thousands of networks and connections and friendships like that from over the years of doing this since 2012.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for listeners that haven't heard me tell this story, which I'm surprised because I've now told it a million times, but when I met you, the first thing I said was there was one episode very specifically that I listened to in 2021, and it was the future of marketing is personal branding. And, this is when I was kind of at a standstill in my business. I was 1 year in and I was a marketing consultant, and it was COVID. So I lost most of my clients, that I had. And I also realized, I'm the kind of person that I like to stand out. I don't want to
Mm.
be like everyone else. And I felt like everyone was doing marketing, social media, SEO. Like you heard the same things over and over again. But listening to that episode with you, you kind of just, you had a really great guest on the show. She had a study that she was specifically referring to. I love the data points behind her argument. And it was this aha moment for me where I could help people build these personal brands that are profitable and, really help them grow their business. And so, that's just an amazing testament to what you've built. But I'm curious, how many of these stories do you hear? Like, do you hear, I mean, you have over 100 million downloads. Like, how many people have you heard from that even started a business or made, major changes like I did because of your show?
Over the years, I mean, tens of thousands, and I love them all because I had an aha moment at one stage in
Hmm.
my journey, like you had your aha moment, and when my show gives somebody an aha moment, like, I love that. In fact, the first 2,000 episodes of my show, every single episode, every single interview that I did, my question was, "What was your aha moment that led you to the success that you
Right.
currently have?" Because I wanted to hear that story, because number 1, as humans, we love stories, like, we resonate with
Hmm.
stories. There's a reason why history, his story,
Right.
her story. I always add that
Yep.
second part because it's her
Right. No,
story,
you gotta. Yeah.
his story. It's
Just,
history. It's the reason why that we love stories, we connect with them. So I wanted people to tell my guests to tell their story of their aha moment, because a lot of times people are like, "Oh, that's how an aha moment happens." And then
mm,
it just plants that seed, and then, like, 1 day from then, 10 days from then, 1 year from then, it happens for them, and that aha moment, but the seed was planted on how to recognize and embrace it from those
mm,
stories, from that,
mm.
conversation. So a lot of fun. I look back on my 4,500 episodes, now over 170 million listens, and I'm just like,
Wow.
it's been a fun journey.
Yeah. So, are there any other stories like similar to mine, or a success story you can share from someone who listened?
There's a lot of stories that I really do love, but one that I want to
Yeah.
share is from my friend Aaron Walker. He was an individual who was recommended to me by the great and very sadly late Dan Miller. Dan Miller was a great entrepreneur. He had a awesome podcast called Taking Care of Business. And it was actually called 48 Days to the Work You Love. But the reason why I said Taking
Hmm.
Care of Business is because he started his podcast with that song, Taking Care of Business, which was so
Oh,
fun.
nice. That's
So
fun.
I got to know Dan because I listened to his show all the time, and he was a mentor to me. And then he said, "Hey, interview this guy, Aaron Walker. He's just starting out, and he doesn't really know what he's doing, but he's got a good heart. But he's got something." So I interviewed this guy, Aaron Walker, and he just crushed it on the show. I was so impressed by what he did. And then he's like, "Hey, I'm going to make sure that this show is the most commented on show that you've ever had." And in fact, when the show went live, it had like hundreds of comments within the first couple hours because
Really?
he
Oh,
had just
wow.
gone out and told people that he was friends with and connected with and that worked with him,
Yeah.
"I want you to go and comment and make that happen." And I just loved that. And the aha moment that he had on my show was masterminds. He really realized
Mm,
the power of masterminds because he was asking me some things. I told him about the mastermind that I was in. And so he went on and created, it's called View from the Top, which was this amazing masterminds that
mm.
he ran for years. And I think it's still actually running today, where his whole business now is based on masterminds because of that aha
Really?
moment he had in that episode.
Okay. That's amazing. So, you heard me now talk about personal branding a little bit, and you obviously knew about it before I even did. So, what are your thoughts on personal branding, and how do you see yourself continuing to build your own?
It's everything. There's a woman that I interviewed multiple times, and I love her. She's one of the best public speakers in the world. I've seen her speak live multiple times. Her name is
Mm,
Sally Hogshead, and her whole brand is
okay.
how the world sees you. That's her
Mm,
brand, and that's to me what a brand is. It's how the world sees you, not how you see yourself, not how you see your brand, EO Fire Studios, but you know
right.
how the world sees you. And so that was a
Mhm.
great little mindset shift for me, and that's when I started really saying, "Okay, everything that I create is gonna be on that focal point, is how the world sees this, how the world sees me, this brand, this business, this podcast, this product, this service, this mastermind, whatever that might be, how the world
Yeah.
sees you."
Right. But how do you measure that? I mean, everyone has a hard time imagining what someone else's first impression is of them. I mean, how do you really measure how the world sees you?
You gotta have conversations, it's not easy. You gotta ask for them.
Yeah.
You gotta reach out, and when people reach out to you and say, "Hey, I enjoyed this episode," or, "Hey, like, that was cool," or whatever, you stop them, you say, "Hey, can I ask you 4 questions?" Like, number 1, how'd you find out about me? Like, what
Mhm.
led you to my to my podcast, to my business, to my brands? So you can start doing more of those things that are working. Number 2, what do you like about my business? What do you like about my brands? Number 2,
Mhm.
what don't you like about my business? What don't you like about my brands? And then that was number 3. And then number 4 is, what is your biggest struggle right now in this world? Because these are
Mm.
your biggest fans. These are your biggest like listeners, viewers. These are your people. This is your audience. This is your tribe. Like, you want to know what their problems are so that you can decide, hey, do I want to create solutions for this problem, for that problem, for
Mm.
this? And then you get to pick and choose as you kind of create your business and your life around that.
Mhm. And it's constantly evolving, right? I mean, if you ask someone those same questions once a year, you could get completely different answers, but
It
that
is
allows you to kind of stay ahead.
constantly evolving.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so now, I mean, you've built something so huge. It's now a media empire, but what's next for John Lee Dumas?
What's next is really realizing what's enough, because you can just keep building your whole life and just build, build, build. And there are some people that should do that. The Gary Vaynerchuks
Mhm.
of the world. I know
Mhm.
Gary, he's a great guy. He never wants to stop building. And guess what? He never should stop building because he
Yeah.
never wants to stop building. I don't have that unrelenting drive. I have drive, and it's led me to build what I built. But now I
Mhm.
also have this thing of like, I love where I live. I love my
Mhm.
schedule. I'm going to be
Right.
very intentional about what I say yes to. In fact, I'm going to say no to most things. And when I say yes to things, it's going to be very efficient. Like, it's going to be very
Mhm.
focused. Like, you and I are talking on the 1 day per month that I do interviews on other shows. And I have 15 interviews on other shows today. And you and I have a
Okay.
lovely 15 minutes together.
Right.
I'm giving you a couple extra minutes because we're friends, but it's got to be under 20 because I'm back to back today.
Right.
And
No.
I'm very focused on that. So I
Mhm.
really focus on, like, what is enough? And then once you get to that point, don't keep grinding is what I decided makes me happy. And so now it's more of
Okay.
like, is there a couple things we can take off our plate that we don't need to be doing that's taking up more time than it is worth the revenue that it might be bringing in? How do we make our team more efficient? How do I make my days more
Mhm.
efficient? Like, how do I really make sure that almost all the time, because you're never always doing what you wanna do, but most of the time,
Yeah.
I'm doing what I chose to do, what I said yes to do, that I want to do.
Right. Exactly. And so it sounds like you're focusing almost on the operations and how you can start to pull that away. Are you delegating more to like, are you bringing on a team and just, hiring and offering those kinds of
Well, because
responsibilities to others?
hiring brings on its own, troubles as well, and
Yeah.
hiring, listen, a team is amazing, and we have a team. But
Mhm.
hiring just to hire and just to delegate has been something that we've experienced as well, that actually got us to a place that we didn't wanna be, where at one point we were 17, people on the team.
Oh,
Now we're
wow.
down to, like, essentially 3. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
we've continued to trim over years because we said, we're gonna sunset this mastermind. We're gonna stop
Okay.
offering this course. And so, like, we've just really focused, and by the way, and we were saying goodbye to revenue, but we were also saying goodbye to complexity and to added
Mhm.
work and energy that had to go into those things, and just
Right.
kind of keep the 2 or 3 things that are really working for us, because that's what we wanted. Because we started a family, and we live in Puerto Rico, and like all these different things. So I mean, that's what we decided, but it was an evolution. We're 13 years into this.
Yeah.
Years 0 through 5, I was in total grind mode. Years 5
Right.
through 10, I was maybe on, still grinding, but starting to say, okay, what do I want this to look like in a couple years, and then moving towards that.
Mhm.
And then now the
Mhm.
past 3 years, like, we've gone to that place where it's where we want it to be now, and that could change in the future. I could wake up
Right.
tomorrow with an aha moment that has me so fired up that I start a whole new thing, and And that's fine as
Yeah,
well,
you
because
never know.
life is not meant to be stagnant. Like, you keep
Right.
moving, you keep thinking and innovating, and, keep your finger on the pulse. Like, there's a Steve Jobs quote of like, I would look in the mirror every single day and ask myself, am I happy? Am I doing what I want to be doing? And he's like, some days I would say no. I just made sure, and this is Steve Jobs still talking. He said, I just made sure that it wasn't too many days in a row that I was saying that. Cause
Okay.
then if there was, I knew there was a problem. You're not always
Yeah.
going to be happy. You're not
Yeah.
always going to be loving everything about what you're doing with your life and your business. But are you more often than not? And are you moving in a direction that feels like it's getting you closer to that?
Right. Absolutely. So I'm curious to know too, do you have a favorite year now? I mean, you're year 13. Is there one that stands out as was your
Um,
favorite?
it's gonna be this year because it comes with the addition of, my first child, my son,
Mhm.
Bo, who you got to meet, and,
Yeah.
it's just cool to, like, kinda have both the business and then, like, after I'm done interviewing today, like, I get to go play with him for a little while and have some fun with that and
Right.
see him, and so, every year has been great for different reasons, and,
Mhm.
this is my favorite year yet.
I love it. I love that answer. I'd have to agree too. I feel like, year like I said, year 1 through 4, we're good, the
Grind.
building year, but yeah, and I'm still grinding, but I have the energy too, I have the drive,
Yeah,
and I don't think I've woken up and not been happy doing what I'm doing
that's pretty awesome.
since, like, at least, like, 6 months maybe, so I feel like
Yeah,
that's a good amount of time, so
that is a good amount of time.
just gonna keep pushing. But yeah, well, so thank you so much for joining, and for sharing your journey and wisdom. So for those of you if you somehow don't know Entrepreneurs on Fire, what's the best place to connect with you and, maybe listen to some episodes or hear any other projects you're doing?
All the magic happens at eofire.com. We have some great free courses for entrepreneurs there. And of course, my podcast is Entrepreneurs on Fire. And, one of my biggest prides that I've created in the past 13 years, I've only published one book. It's called The Common Path to Uncommon Success. It's a 17-step roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment. So that's what it's all about. And it's been great catching up, Alexis.
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much. If anyone is looking to connect with the Thought Garden or join a future episode, you can reach out to us at rosarium.work or on our socials. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time on the Thought Garden.